Conversating? Conversating with Pops and Ade.
Yep, conversating with Pops and Ade.
Well, I'm Peter J. Harris.
And I'm Adenike A. Harris. And this is Conversating with Pops and Ade.
Conversating with Pops and Ade.
Let's go.
Let's get started.
So, welcome back. So excited. That sounds dry.
That's all right. It's a serious subject this go round.
Yeah, man.
Conversating with Pops and Ade.
Yep. I'm Adenike. Who is
Peter
you?
J. Harris. I'm Peter J. Harris. Why you messing with me on the grammar front?
I'm just because I know how sometimes it gets on your nerves. I like this little blue hat. You got the little blue scully on. Okay. I see you.
No, I want to hunker down. This is because the theme, or as you say, the topic of this episode, we're just calling it pain right now. Let's see if we can meditate and dive into, what does that mean? I mean, when you go through it, or you're like, as you often say and have in the past few episodes, this idea of social pain. When things are happening around you, the social fabric is ripped asunder by police killings of young people, of anybody for that matter, but definitely of unarmed folk wearing uniforms. Of the this guy didn't get killed, but he got tased.
And pepper sprayed.
Pepper sprayed. So
yeah,
I think it behooves us on our podcast to really look plainly at pain, at really just accepting. Yes, it is a part of life. It's no amount of therapy or human hunger for peace will inevitably lead to a pain-free existence. Yeah. And so I think it's exciting in a different way to just sort of honor that pain has occurred in our lives, and particularly ours, that pain will occur. The question then becomes, how do you handle it? What do you choose to do within the pain? What allies do you cultivate in your joy and in your celebration, so that when the inevitable or the unavoidable pain shows its face, its ugly face, so often, too often, that face is a person who's supposed to be a loved one, who's supposed to be in your family. And so I think that's the way I want to frame it from my perspective is, we can't be about healing if we're not aware of the impact pain has on healing.
I also want to add to one of our other episodes, we talked about courages and the different kinds of courages. I also think it's really important to identify that there are different kinds of pain. You mentioned already social pain. As African Americans, I know that there is a cultural pain that I feel despite me not even knowing the people who have been harmed due to police brutality, and also even world pain, cultural pain, where there's just injustices that are happening left and right, not just to African Americans, but to Asian Americans, to, people, immigrants who are trying to get into this country as they are refugee, they're coming from places that are worse off or more dangerous for them as people. So that's like larger, like that's universal pain in my in my feeling, right? Not just specific to my culture, but just looking at human pain. And also there's our own individual pain, right? You've got the emotional pain, you've got physical pain. So I just wanted to make sure that we set the foundation to recognize that not only do we need to acknowledge that pain exists in order to move to and through our healing journey or a healing experience, but we also need to recognize the dynamics of pain, the different types of pain, the different ways that we individually can process in pain. Some people actually might choose pain, right? I think that's something to really bring to the forefront is some people choose pain. And, you know, we might be flippant and say they choose in drama or whatever, but in sometimes it really is because the chaos and the pain, which I believe are they coexist. Sometimes people choose that pain or choose that chaos because that's what's safer, that's what's comfortable, that's what they're used to. So the biggest thing for me is really recognizing, what do you do? How do you not choose the negative pain? But then also, is there good pain, right? And we talk about that change of uncomfortability, like that's painful. You're shifting something, you're changing, you're growing. Right. That's painful sometimes. And so I really think we've got a few different tiers that we can dig into. So I really wanted to make sure I put that out there as well. So from my perspective.
Yeah, I like that. I also think that, yes, the more conscious we get about these tiers, about these dimensions, the more conscientious we can get about our actions and about our interpretations and about our explorations and about our tracing exercises as we look back over our lives. And you get to be my age, you know, 60s, in my 60s, you know, you get to atone for pain. You get to, you know, be forgiven for pain, forgive someone else for the pain they caused you. And also you just get to really just, you know, like a jewel, or just hold it up in the light. And you say to yourself, well, this facet over here, but wait a minute, I did this, but really I was like 12 years old. I didn't know. I was influenced more by this, or I was in my 20s and, oh man, I was still under this peer pressure that I, you know, had to be this kind of a man. I mean, really, if in your 60s you're still acting like you were in your 20s, you haven't done what? You haven't done anything. Preach. You haven't done no work. You haven't done. I mean, Jesus, you haven't even found a friend who's just pulled your coattail, like Big Brother Glenn said. You know, what kind of life is that? So I'm personally, I'm seriously proud that I understand pain in a much more wise way than I did in the old days.
I even think, like you said, if you're 60 still behaving like you did when you were 12, 20s, et cetera. Same goes for, you know, if you're 40, 41 years old, are you still acting the way you did when you were 20? And those friends, because I think what ends up happening is you may have had a friend who pulled your coattail, but then you deemed them not worthy to be your friend because they wasn't letting you be. And so you went ahead and decided to go make whole new friends, because I actually have actually been a part of a friendship circle where a person got mad at me for pulling coattails and say, "Hey man, why we still doing this? Like, what is going on?" I haven't spoken to that person since, but then I have witnessed that they have a whole new crew, and it's just like, well, what work are you really doing? And that to me is the person who chooses their kind of pain, right? Who chooses this way of being is more comfortable for them, and until it gets uncomfortable for another person where they're confronting or putting the mirror up, as we say in coaching world or whatever, when someone puts a mirror up in your face and it's like, yo, look at yourself, what you doing? And instead of you responding to that reflection, you respond to the person holding the mirror and you deem them the villain in a sense. That means you still circling that drain of pain and suffering that you enjoy. Like, this is where you want to stay. And I think it also, again, like every one of our episodes kind of has a through line, right? It's when you talked previously about woodshedding. If you're not able to internally go inward and do some type of woodshedding or cocooning or something like that, then you will continue to repeat the pain patterns. You'll continue to repeat the traumatic patterns in your life, relationship patterns, like anything. It's an energetic pattern over and over and over again that you will keep repeating because you're not facing it. You're not facing the thing that needs to be faced. You're not facing the attitude that you may have about certain things or how you move in this world. You're not facing, you know, the experiences if you had as a kid, you're not facing those. So I just kind of, I got on my soapbox a little bit because I really wanted people to understand, like, if you are still behaving the same way that you are now that you were when you was in your teens, your early 20s, especially if you in your 40s, 50s, and 60s, like, come on, people, challenge yourself.
It's also important to make sure we're acknowledging, if we're talking about being empathetic folks or what have you, people can be suffering from pain that they don't know, that they're innocent of, that they shouldn't have had to go through. Certainly we talk about sexual abuse and whatnot. The person who's suffering from that pain has been victimized, has been targeted.
You're right. Pull my coattails, Dad.
No. It's all in all. It's all in all to me. It's not that. I mean, yes. So the point I'm simply making is we want to make sure in all of these tiers and dimensions, we also recognize that there are people who are wrongly convicted in our so-called justice system. Folks going to the mall and some white racist shoots them down in Texas. You know what I mean? Or a dude drives a car into a woman protesting against racist, supremacies, and she gets killed. I mean, that's a pain she didn't choose. She chose to go to the mall, or he chose to go protest, as the First Amendment of the Constitution, allows. But they didn't choose unequal reaction to their exercising of their rights. So that's what we said at the top. This is more of a meditation. There are no solutions per se to a person's pain. But until you get specific with it, and then once you specify it, then once you begin to, turn to that page of pain, so to speak, then you say, now what's the story here? What's the backstory? What's the plot? What has a person been going through? And when you can get to that particularity, that set of particularities, then you can begin a dialogue, whether it's with a professional, non-abusive loved one, etc., or even it's a meditation, with the all, whatever your faith walk is. But as long as we're just sort of meditating as we are, with compassion, with respect, no doubt, but we're meditating on the big concept now of pain. That's how I'm looking at it. That's how I'm looking at it.
I'm right there with you. I just, like I said, I got hyped because I do watch patterns, and my thing is really patterns. And it's like your consciousness comes from when you become aware of these things. And then it's like when you become aware of them, if you continue to do them, it's like that's my thing. But I agree, particularly this conversating topic, this moment of us as we talk. It's not a solution. I hope you didn't come to hear us give you a solution on pain. No, this is really about literally the conversation surrounding, well, what is pain? What is good pain? What is bad pain? Do you choose good and bad pain? Is there really a difference? So I agree.
Okay.
Go ahead, get in there.
I want to add this energy. So I want to give. I'm not asking you to do this, but I'm going to speak of my own pain. So I had an experience where I was going through something with a professional colleague. It was resolved, totally different, opposite, feelings about it. They felt a certain way. I felt it's an impasse, no question. And pow, it's done. So I'm done. I'm doing the work I need to do. Couple 3 years later, I get a call. What's the possibility of us rekindling? What's the possibility of us having a conversation? I almost said, and went straight skull cap on
Go ahead and shift it on them. Go ahead and shift them on so they know where you're from,
like Pops. Marvin Gaye on the Let's Get It On album with the head. He was like, oh. Now I said, no. And I remember actually asking you, and again, we're not, we're ethical, so I'm not revealing any names or what have you, principles here. I said, well, you know what, such and such just happened, call, blah, blah, blah. My instinct is telling me to pick that phone back up just for one good final, like, cuss out of epic proportions. that you could see it exploding off the horizon like you was in outer space or something. No, you said, no, Dad, just go ahead and, breathe on it, and
oh my
then
God, I said something profound.
You said something. You probably quoted me when I asked somebody, let me holler at you, man. Let me just holler at you. Let me just holler at you. And you said, go ahead and holler at the person. And I did it. And I remember the conversation. It started off with this kind of generic, innocence, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, I didn't say anything. I let the person do their thing, speak. And I was like, I had to take the phone, pull it away from my ear. I wanted to put it on mute so I couldn't be heard. But finally it was my turn.
I know you went through all of this.
I'm just saying, I went, and then when I came back, I stayed calm. I stayed focused on the pain in the particular way. And I said, X, Y, and Z, did that happen to you? X, Y, and Z, did this happen to you as a result of this behavior? This, that, and the other? The generic is, oh yeah, I made a mistake. The specific is, this action of yours, this is what it caused and cost me. And if you're talking about reclaiming a voice of ethical quality and character, you're gonna have to change. And you can't just sweep, I'm doing a little sweep dance.
Like sweeping it under the
rug. Do it.
Like,
you got to deal with this first.
Yeah.
And I want to just sort of own that in terms of pain, it was kicking my butt, and it kicked my butt emotionally. It kicked my butt socially. You know what I mean? Financially, all of the dimensions that we just mentioned. But when I hung up, I actually went administrative big time. I said, well, if you really want to start this process, pal, you could do this. Pal, you could do that. Well, I don't. I said, well, cool. You make the decision.
Right.
I'm on the path, out of this pain.
You asked for what you needed.
What did I say?
You asked for what you needed. You asked for what you wanted. You created the boundaries. You insisted. Yeah.
Let me go ahead and get my lips together for this.
Go ahead and get your lips together. You insisted on creating the boundaries that you needed in order to move through the pain that you experienced, not necessarily making that person. You basically said, well, this action that you did created this in me. And that is where I am. So since you're reaching out to me to reconnect or try to rebuild, then in order to do that, then XYZ, this has to happen. And that is really actually powerful because you've created a boundary. You didn't go off. You ain't go southeast on them. You definitely
get my hat back.
You get your hat back. You definitely maintained your cool. You listened, but you also knew what your baseline was. And I think that that's really powerful in recognizing the pain within you, but also not letting the pain lead the conversation. You let the pain be there, but you didn't let the pain lead the conversation.
Yeah.
You allowed yourself to, you even listen. Like, I believe you actively listened to that person to hear what they had to say. And then when you recognize, like, hey, you wasn't really trying to go deep with me. You were staying at the top of the iceberg. So this is where I am because I'm down here.
Yeah.
So I'm proud of you because I remember that moment. I'm really proud of you. But the principles are really, and again, they're useful in so many different ways, specifically
I was
when
thinking the same thing.
meditating.
That's right.
And when thinking about pain, like how to deal with that, like when you've been hurt, especially if you've been hurt by someone, like your example is really powerful on how you aren't dismissing the pain. You're not dismissing what happened to you, but you're also not letting the pain lead you, I do think it's more complicated. I just want to acknowledge, like, I do think it's more complicated on a larger social and cultural scale with all the things that are happening with, brutality against a race of people. That definitely is not. I am going to say Adenike does not believe that the Black people need to be using our inside voices against the atrocities. I truly believe that our anger is righteous, and that we can let that anger and that experience of pain, the community pain, be what is leading us right now, because we've always been told to be the good, quiet house. Don't say, well, try to understand their perspective. It's not my job. I'm saying this from a space of being in corporate America, having to deal with racism, being in nonprofit and having to deal with, racism and other, environments where I've been the one to ask, well, how do I solve this? So I'm saying, and I want this on the record, I'm not saying that Black folks need to be letting our pain not be seen and being calm. That's the one thing I want to say. Whereas in your experience with this personal situation, with this one-on-one, this person was, was a colleague, was a friend, was, whoever they were to you, you didn't let the blow up happen. You still allowed listening. Whereas on a larger scale, I don't think
here's something deep that just hit me. I know we're almost out of time, but it flashes me back right now to this notion of when back in the day, after your disclosure, you asked me a certain set of things, or you insisted on a certain set of behaviors in order for me to really be a non-abusive loved one. And actually, in hindsight helps me put a tag on this particular example I was trying to give, this anecdote, is that, it turns out I don't want revenge from this person or that situation. I don't need retribution. Clearly, I have an example of when, being a supportive teammate to you, sets me strong, gets my bones strong. So I already had muscles that had my back, so that I could really go through this additional wave of experience with this situation, this person, and get to the end of it. And I'll resist my own snarky urge to sort of put the pen on a donkey and say something skanky that I don't want to say that. I just say it was the experience I needed to ethically resolve a painful experience, professional and personal, in my life. And so for me, we started out saying, I just wanted to meditate on this and think about pain and not be afraid of it. And I'm glad that came up in me, that I wanted to use that example. And as a result, I'm at peace. At peace. And I have no desire to go, what's that dude in the Marvel joint with the arrows just keep coming? I don't know how he keeps shooting the arrow. Hawkeye just be pulling arrows out. Him and like Legolas, they were just shooting arrows. Where do they come from? The arrows, you can't keep having arrows being manufactured on your back.
Apparently,
in the quiver.
Apparently in Lord of the Rings and in Marvel Universe, you can. So that
evidently.
I feel like that's a different podcast. We start talking about when we start talking about movies. It's a different.
Let me just go ahead and get my Marvin hum on down.
That might be a bonus episode. PopsnAde conversation about movies.
That's right. All right, let's get it on album. He's like this. Okay, I'm glad we could get down.
This subject is really, it's tough. Pain is tough anyway, but to talk about it in an ethical way, an honest way, one thing I can always say, and Pops and I always emphasize, like, we're not experts in anything but our own selves and our own lives. And
dab. That's like fancy.
Right, that's some dab.
Yeah, we're not experts on anything, but
these are our opinions. This is our conversation about this topic and what we believe and the life that we live. So thanks for joining us, and come back soon. We look forward to sharing with you.
Let's do this again.
I think we can do it again. I think he's not fired today, y'all.
Wow.
All right, y'all.
Earth, Wind, and Fire Choir. I love it.
All right. Have a great day.
You've been listening to Conversating with Pops and Ade. We're your hosts, Peter Harris
And I'm Adenike Harris. Please, wherever you're listening to this podcast, subscribe, share with your friends, and give us feedback. Also, don't forget to follow us at our Instagram page at PopsnAde, PopsnAde. Facebook, we are Peter and Adenike Harris. And you can also find us on YouTube, where you can see other videos of work that we have done, including our TED Talk entitled Healing versus Retaliation. Thanks again, and come back soon.